terms of fees and in terms of owning a house, what are, because I know there are a lot of like undercover fees that no one really knows about. One thing I know heard of is stamp duty tax. I don't know. So if you could explain some of the fees
Yeah.
that go into buying a house and owning a house.
Yeah. So often people, when they're thinking about buying their first home, they're really considering is saving for a deposit.
Mm.
But what you should be doing is saving for a deposit and purchaser's costs. So if you're purchasing a property, you're going to have to pay tax on it. So stamp duty, land tax, it's a tax that you pay on any property you buy, whether it's commercial, residential, anywhere in the UK. And the reason why you have, if you imagine the UK, technically the land is owned by the Queen. You know, the royal, like, you know, Great Britain owns essentially the land. So when you're buying, you're going to pay tax on it, like most things. You know, when you buy something from a shop, you're paying VAT. So you'll pay tax, so stamp duty, land tax, and that can vary depending on the value of the property you're buying, and whether it's your first or second property or third property. Often, if the value of the property, you'll have to just Google stamp duty, land tax breakdown, and you can see the different bands. But I think it's anything up to, if the property value is anything up to 125,000, you don't pay stamp duty if it's your first home. But if it's your second home or an investment property, you'd pay 3%, basically 3% of the property's value. So for example, if you're buying a property that's £100,000 and it's your first home and you're going to live in it, you don't have to pay stamp duty. But if, like for me, I was buying my property and I wasn't going to live in it, but it was an investment property, I had to pay, I think it was about £3,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
So like, I would have to factor that cost into my initial like startup.
Exactly. So stamp duty is probably the largest cost you're going to have to factor in. You then have to think about, sometimes you'll have to pay your broker a fee. So that could be anything up to, you know, some brokers are really expensive, could be £5,000, but you're probably going to be looking anywhere between £1,000 to £5,000 for a broker. And then for a solicitor as well, it's a similar thing. So anywhere from like £1,000 to £5,000. So already, so if we take the upper end of those two, so your legal fees with the solicitor, let's say it's 5k, which it would never be that high, I don't think anyway. And then your broker's fee, let's say it's 2k, that's 7k. And then let's say your stamp duty is an additional, let's say if you're buying in London, you're probably going to pay anywhere, like maybe let's say 10k in stamp duty.
Extra 17k just that.
That's an extra 17k.
Wow. Are those one-off tax payments or are they yearly?
So, no, stamp duty, all of that is one-off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right then. So it's very expensive then in London anyways.
In London, yeah. Don't forget that your solicitor, whoever does the conveyancing on your property, your solicitor doesn't have to be based where you're buying. So my solicitor is based in Peterborough. I've never met the guy. I don't even know what he looks like, but he does a good job. He turns things around really quickly. So just because you're buying in London, don't think you have to get a solicitor that's based in London, because anything London-based is always going to have a premium. People are ridiculous. Even like builders and stuff, they'll be quoting you like 20k for a job where I know in Nottingham I can pay like £1,000 and get the same job done. So yeah, just be wary and get quotes. If you're looking at buying and you're looking for a solicitor, always speak to people that have already bought in your network, get recommendations. I think that's always the best way to try and find either solicitors, brokers, or whoever you might need. Because if someone you know has already used them and trusts them and they're recommending them to you, you can almost be rest assured that they're going to do a good job for you as well. If you don't know anyone, I go onto Google and I type, conveyancer or solicitor, and maybe pick 4 or 5, call them up, explain to them what the value of the property is you're looking to buy, ask them what their fees would be in terms of doing a conveyancing, and then once you've got like 5 quotes, you can kind of choose which you prefer.